Toby, who is an up-and-coming musician who's based in Milton Keynes. He's going to talk to us about his experience of depression, why he's supporting Mental Health Awareness Week, and how music has helped him. So thanks for coming in.
Thank you very much.
So just tell us a bit more about yourself and your depression and your experience of depression.
Well, I think it goes back, you can probably trace it back a long way before this, but there was a point where a very close friend of mine ended up really having a really hard time, and it was a suicide attempt, but I was a carer really at that stage, and it wasn't until further on down the line when I really realised that it had taken like a huge toll on me. And so for the 2 years after the accident, I was in a really kind of bad way, and it really helped writing about my experiences and talking about things that people don't want to talk about, suicide, depression, self-harm, and it is so much more common among people than people realise.
How did you know that you weren't okay? How did you know that there was something wrong?
I found myself going from, you know, happy-go-lucky kind of guy to someone who, you know, really struggled to get out of bed. I really kind of didn't want anything. There was nothing I wanted to do. I knew that writing songs was something that I enjoyed doing, but no part of me wanted to become a singer-songwriter or go touring around the world and play all these songs to people, because it was so personal to me. I felt like no one would want to hear that. These songs were written at a time where I had nothing else to do and nothing else to kind of focus my attention on, because there was no attention there. I was really struggling with work. I was struggling to do anything that required energy apart from songwriting, and that's where these songs came about. So writing songs became so much more of a coping mechanism.
The things that I never said, they never listened to me. I tried crying out for help, but they never would believe me. So come lay with me and hold me close when times were tough, when I needed you the most. Come help me, complete me, 'cause you take me home when you fix my soul.
When we talk about the literal meaning of the songs, there were things that I couldn't tell my mum, for example, and I only told a select few people because it was like it was a cry out for help, essentially. And there's other songs that really kind of tell the story of everything that was happening around the time, and especially when I was caring for someone with depression. It was really difficult to not say these things because it was always on my mind. It affects you, and once you've been through depression, it never really leaves. So what I would, you know, like to kind of put out there is that although I'm in this situation, I'm a much, you know, stronger person. It's because I've gone through the really hard times, and it's never always really good. I don't have a problem talking about these things, and writing songs clearly isn't an issue because I was doing it for myself, but now I'm kind of doing it for other people.
They said, what's going on, mate? 'Cause you don't seem yourself. You spend all your time hidden away like an unread book on the shelf. You haven't been the same since she left you. Are you sure there's nothing you need to say? 'Cause it's alright to be feeling low. Just tell us that you're not okay. We know you're not the same, and that's okay, mate. We wouldn't want you to try too hard to be someone you're not and end up slipping away. We know you're not the same, and that's okay, mate. We wouldn't want you to try too hard to be someone you're not. We don't want you to slip away. We want what's best for you, mate.
I think the more time that goes on, it's becoming more normalised, and so people are actually becoming more understanding that mental health is a way bigger issue than anyone really understands. But then on the other flip side, I feel like the media can be quite damaging and actually can blame mental health at every opportunity And so there's got to be a balance there. The more it's talked about, the more understanding it is. Doesn't mean that everyone that's got any kind of mental health disorder needs to be worrying about talking about it for fear that they might be called something or people might jump to conclusions. So if people can feel less alone and feel like they can talk or turn to music or turn to art or anything like that, then they themselves will feel much like it's a more manageable thing. Because I felt like it was completely unmanageable. Even when I was writing these songs, it was never actually getting rid of the problem. There was never any closure to it, what happened. There was never any real sort of resolution, I suppose. But the songs that I wrote are definitely a reflection of what I went through, which now makes me feel like, okay, I'm definitely feeling a lot better than I was then. And actually, by playing these songs to people and they're now talking to me, it's opening them up and they don't feel like they can't talk about it.
Tell us about how SANE helped you and what resources in particular really connected with you.
There was the Tell Your Story on your site. Writing down how I was feeling or the events that happened really made it a lot more kind of digestible, I suppose. Because when you're living in your head, you can't contemplate what's going to happen next because you're constantly thinking about the past. Whereas if you see it written down, that's almost like I'm putting it to the back of my mind now, because you can write what you want, and using that service in particular, you can have it. You can post anonymously. You can get comments. People can reply to you. People can be there for you, and that's what I really felt from using it, is that there is much more of a community in that service. So there's a lot more people out there that are going through similar experiences or have been through or will go through. So actually using that service was one of the biggest things that helped me when I was caring for my loved one. Was I felt less like I had to be Superman, because some of the posts that you put out explain that the only person that is really going to help you is you. And your loved ones, your relatives, your mum, your dad, they can't be the ones that actually help you in the end. You've got to want to do it yourself. And that to me was like, okay, I relieved the pressure of feeling like I'm responsible for someone else now. Just talking is the number one thing that I would suggest helps with the battle. It doesn't cure, but it definitely helps.
And it breaks my heart that the only pain relief you get is your